Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned that we can learn from them as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. It's Jason Osborn, and that will be in the show notes below as well. Today, our guest is Thor Uram, and he is the owner of Thor Uram Coaching. He, in his own words, is a physically challenged keynote speaker on the topics of fearless, resilience, work-life balance, and midlife reinvention. And recently, moving that into AI and helping people overcome maybe fears or challenges as we're moving into this new era of AI. So it's great to have you on the show, Thor. And I wanted to just jump into our first question here. And it might be even a little bit I'm interested to see kind of with your own transition right now that you're doing in your business. But if you had a time machine and were able to go back to when you started your very first business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself that would have saved you a lot of time, pain, frustration as you were growing and building your business?
I love that question because I went through this all recently. And I think the biggest piece of advice I would give myself is number one, slow down. Slow down because everyone, when they get into this, they want to be on stage. And if you have a personality like mine, you like talking, you like being in front of people, you like helping people, and you're chomping at the bit to get out there and get started. And in my case, and everyone has seen it, it's been, it's displayed all over LinkedIn. I've changed over the course of the last couple of years several times. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. People grow and you can grow in public. It's not like that's not normal. But I probably would have given myself some advice to just slow down, take it easy, and really think about what you want to bring as an impact first. Because before you can build a business, you got to have the foundation. And sometimes that foundation changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So being flexible, slow down a bit, and just kind of allow the business to evolve as it grows. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Correct, correct. And particularly when you're getting into keynote speaking, your message is really, really critically important. And it's, a generalized message isn't enough. It needs to be more specific. You need to have something that's really impactful and that's going to give transformation. Information is not enough. You have to have transformation. So just to be excited about something and to be talking about it, it's not enough. You have to bring change. You have to help people. And
Yeah.
that's the part where I talk about if you can slow down a little bit and kind of think about, okay, I'm excited about this, but what am I going to do? What am I logistically going to do that's going to change lives?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I love that. I've seen that a lot as well. People can be very inspired by what they're talking about, but they don't know how to communicate it in a way that's actually transformational and impactful, and then
Yep.
wonder, why aren't people getting this? I just don't understand it. They're passionate, they just don't know how to communicate it very well. Do you have any tips, whether it's keynote speaking or whether it's just the business owner trying to lead their organization and their company to get people to come along on that journey? Because obviously, as a business owner, you have to give keynote speeches, if you will, to your employees, to your staff, and make sure that they're on board with that. Are there any tips of advice on how to be able to translate that inspiration, passion you have, but in a way that impacts your teams to be able to help them come along in the journey and building the business as well?
Wow, that's a tough question, honestly, because in my case, I'm a solo act. I don't really have anyone else behind the scenes, but you always have to work with people. And even, that's a good point. If you're a solopreneur, I don't know marketing, I don't know design, I don't know, well, I know sales, but there are a lot of things that I don't know, and I have to go to other people. And I think it's even more critically important when you're in a situation like mine because I don't have people that come to an office that I can sit down and talk with and kind of slowly over time get them to understand what's happening. I need to communicate that quickly. to other
Yeah.
people that I bring on that work on these other projects. So I think the biggest tip or piece of advice I would give is it kind of goes back to slow down, understand what you're doing, and then try to have some clarity in the way that you communicate. So when you're talking and you're communicating to people, you know exactly who you are, where you're coming from, and what you need. And just say that. Just be straightforward and say that, because you're going to find that these, the more precise you can be, the better results you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. Is there any sort of challenge that you've been through in your business that when you've gone through it at the time, it just seemed almost impossible to overcome in that moment, but after having gone through it, you're quite thankful. You look back at it almost like, man, that was tough, but I'm so glad I went through it because it wouldn't have brought me to where I am today. I can tell on
Oh
the
yeah.
look on your face that you've probably had at least more than one of those.
I've had quite a few, but I think the biggest one was, being from Gen X, Generation X, and Gen X loves to talk about Gen X. We love ourselves, but we really had to go through hard times and we had to adjust over and over and over again. And I was really good at sales. I love people. I love communicating. I always want to sell or get behind a product that I believe in. I'm big on that. I don't like to sell things just to sell. But when it came to my business and LinkedIn in particular, man, it's different. You can't, if I can get if I can get in a room with someone and I can talk to them and I have the time and I can kind of, for lack of a better term, control the conversation, I can sell. You can't do that on LinkedIn. And it was really, really hard for me to adjust to figure out, okay, this is different. This is new. I have to change. I got to figure out how to do this. And it took me some time, but I think I'm getting better. I'm getting better, and
Yeah.
I'm realizing that it's a different animal. You've got to kind of present who you are a little bit more clearly and be more upfront about that. And then it's almost like reverse marketing. You have to do enough to get people to be interested and wanting to talk to you instead of where traditional sales is like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you start that conversation and you lock them in a conversation and yada yada.
Yeah.
You get that ball going. So yeah, it's been
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything you've just said is what I hear from clients all the time because obviously my specialty is LinkedIn and
Yep.
that's the yeah, we talk and help with people on that all the time. So totally get what you're saying with that. And you mentioned before the show, and I kind of said it at the introduction as well, but you're transitioning a bit into AI and helping
Yeah.
people with
Yeah.
that. What are some key differences that you've been seeing in the marketplace, or what has led you to start to incorporate this into your business in terms of helping other businesses with that?
Well, for the longest time, I was kind of looking for that touchstone for, okay, what's the one thing that I think I could really help the most in? And there are a lot of aspects that I want to help, but for a business, you need to kind of niche down and you need to focus. And it's kind of ironic. Literally this morning, it hit me. Actually, we have one car, so I had to take my wife to work today. I was driving back and my dog's in the back seat and I'm talking to myself and I started going through this speech and I'm like, trying to figure out a speech talk about AI because everybody's so afraid of AI. And I'm thinking because you always want a nice strong start to that speech. And I'm thinking I could get up there and I could just start with, you know, I hated AI. When AI first came out, I hated it. And then kind of reverse talk about I hated it because I didn't think that I would ever want to talk to a computer. And then I would go like, you know, when smartphones came out, I hated them. I hated them because I didn't want to use my thumbs to talk to people. I wanted to call them on the phone. And it's like when the internet came out, I hated it because I thought I was going to lose all my identity and kind of build it back. And I'm thinking, man, this is perfect. I'm Gen X. And I started a talk this morning. It's called From Eight Tracks to AI. And if you don't know what an eight
Nice.
track is, I don't know if you know, but an eight track was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first before cassettes. They were things
Yeah,
you
before
plug in and
success,
had
yeah.
music on them.
Yeah.
I thought, man, this would be great. And I really, really embraced that. I think that's where I can help the most because that's the biggest thing in the world that's going to be happening probably in the next 10 to 15 years. And why not jump in there because I know I can help.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And if you were to speak to a company or even an individual, or it's probably a better individual that maybe is owning a business what's some big piece of advice that you would give them if they're kind of afraid of where AI is going and what it might do to impact their industry or their company? And to help maybe calm some of those nerves, what would be some advice you'd give around that?
The biggest piece of advice is don't put your head in the sand. You can't ignore this. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. It's happening right now. There is zero you can do to stop this. So you can take one of two routes. You can be terrified and upset and angry and fight, fight, fight. Or you can say, you know what? This is a tool. AI is just a tool. There's nothing, all this hype you hear about AI is going to take over. I'm sure you hear it. I mean, everybody sees it. It's going
Mm,
to, it's going to destroy humanity. It's the end of the world. And none of that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. AI is going to be invaluable. And the sooner you can get your mind around that, everything calms down. And you
mhm.
just need to relax. And I think the way to get to that place of peace and calm is education. You need to educate yourself. And that's it.
Yeah.
You just start there. You can't do everything overnight. There are things I'm learning every day about AI. I'm like, wow, really? It's so interesting. But if you look at it through the lens of don't be afraid, accept that it's going to be here. And if you want to be in the world, you're going to have to learn to live with this and work with it.
Mm.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's absolutely a tool. 100% agree with you. And when you were talking about that, I was remembering back to the year 2000, Y2K, and all the fear
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
around all of that, and a lot of this kind of reminds me
Internet's
of
going to
that.
explode. All the computers are going to stop working because the year
Yeah,
two zeros. Yeah, none of that happened
yeah,
yet.
and it's going to reset
I forgot
nuclear
about that one.
bombs, and they're gonna
Yeah.
launch nuclear stuff, and it's going to destroy. I mean, I heard every sort of doomsday scenario, and of course, midnight came and went in 1999 into 2000, and it was like, um, what happened? Nothing happened. It was
Yeah.
just like it
Thank you.
carried
You
on.
actually just helped me with my talk because I'm going to incorporate that too. I totally forgot about that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it was a huge thing, and there was a lot of fear around that. But it
Yeah.
is amazing. Yes, there are a lot of things with AI, and I can understand where there might be some of the concern around it. It's definitely a huge advance in technology and a lot of incredible capabilities with it. Yeah, just embracing that and not being afraid of it, which I think is absolutely amazing. Well, with what you're wanting to do, and you kind of mentioned a little bit of that while you were talking, what are your goals over the next 2 to 5 years that you're wanting to achieve in the business?
Pretty big. I want to get out there and it's so ironic that this is literally happening today. But I've been waiting for this aha moment and it's here. This is it. And I wanted something that I could kind of flip the switch and start pouring all my energy into, and this is it. I want to obviously talk. I love talking. I want to help people. I'm literally going through today. I'm like, who can I help? Who can I help? Well, I can talk to businesses. Obviously, I can talk to people in HR departments that are helping their businesses prepare for the AI transformation and some of the reluctance that comes with that. But in addition to just giving keynote speeches, to showing up to doing virtual speeches, I can do workshops. I can literally
Mm,
go, and I really want to be there. I want to be with people and work with them and just help them calm down. Help
yeah,
them establish uh, kind of employee resource groups within their companies to where they can take the reins and help their own companies work through this. And
yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get started.
That's amazing, man. That's very exciting. Well, I love hearing your goals, your outcomes that you're wanting to achieve with that, and the whole movement of transitioning, rather, of where you're going with this, which is really exciting. So, if people want to
Thank you.
learn more about you or contact you, what's the best way for them to do that, Thor?
Best way is probably through the website, which is thoruram.com. It's THORURAM as in Mary.com.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Well, thanks for being on the show today, Thor. And as a reminder, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and that will be in the show notes below as well.